What's up, everybody? Welcome on into the slate here on a Friday afternoon. We are taking you into the weekend, hopefully for your sake, the end of the work week, and obviously some big playoff action on the docket tonight. We got a couple NBA games, one NHL game, and who better to help us break these down than Jeff Ulrich and Matt LaMarca. I am Adam Kaufman. Boys, what's going on?
Not much on my end. Feel pretty good. It's always tough because I never know if I should answer first or if Jeff's, you know what I'm saying? I blame
Just jump in. Like if I ran into you guys at a bar and I was like, hey guys, how are you? You're going to like look to the other one and wait to see who answers first?
I'm polite and Jeff's a Canadian. So it's just natural.
Doesn't that make him more polite?
Definitely a host issue. It's you know, a more polished host wouldn't make it so uncomfortable for his guests.
A more polished host would just, you know, be very orderly. Jeff, how are you? Matt, how are you?
Correct.
One at a time. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at this, but I'm
Alex Trebek, we're here. Yeah. R.I.P. by the way.
May he rest in peace. Yeah. We've got a half hour to break through some stuff. Maybe we'll mix in a little baseball later on. There's been the one game today. The Cubs won, which is good for anyone that bet on them, be it on the run line or the money line or both. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come today. Could really use it with the way the last couple of days have gone. A lot of baseball on the way this evening as well. But let's obviously start playoff hoops. LaMarca, I'm sure I'm going to lean on you here with this one. But the first game comes up in, 2 hours just about. Celtics in Philadelphia. This game is or the series is 1-1. The C's are favored in Philly, which is obviously no surprise. We'll bring up the DraftKings Sportsbook odds. What surprises me a little bit, though, LaMarca, is after the clobbering Boston put on Philly in Game 2, an absolute decimation, a blowout, plenty of rest for the starters on both sides because of it. We only have the C's favored by 2.5 points, which actually opened at 1.5 before getting bet up. What's your view of this one?
I think everyone kind of is just throwing Game 2 out the window because it was such an obvious bounce back spot for Boston. You know, you drop Game 1 as massive favorites. You're a little flat. It would have been surprising to not see the Celtics play their best basketball. But I'm with you in regards to the fact that I think this number is a good one for Boston. I am, as I mentioned before the show started, I am extremely worried about Joel Embiid. I almost wish that they wouldn't play him at this point, right? Like what we saw from him in Game 2 was just not very good. He had 3 turnovers, led the team in turnovers in 26.5 minutes. He only finished with 15 points on 9 shots from the field. He did get to the foul line a bunch, but like, I just think that the way that they're playing right now with this sort of half effective Joel Embiid, I'd almost rather them go back to what they did in Game 1 and play this more, team oriented approach. I mean, James Harden was great in that game, but you got great contributions from Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. And I think as long as Embiid is out there, his presence is just so dominating. He commands such a large usage rate that you kind of have to play through him, but he's clearly not the same guy that he was during the regular season. So until I see a better game from Joel Embiid, the 76ers are kind of a team that I'm out on.
So one word for it is dominating. The other word for it, which you're really insinuating in everything you just talked about, is disruptive. It looked like in Game 2, just Embiid's presence, especially the fact that he wasn't in full strength, really took James Harden and many of the other Sixers kind of out of their games, and they just didn't do everything that really worked for them, obviously, in Game 1 when they stole that first game in Boston. And for me, and I paid for it quite literally, I'm wondering what you think here tonight. Game 2 to me going in, it was as a bettor, it was such a trap. And I mean that in one very specific way. I agree with you that I thought easy game to bet on for Boston, money line, maybe even spread if you wanted to be overly confident. It was definitely a game that in my mind the Celtics were going to win. But from a player prop perspective, with Embiid coming back and potential for limited minutes and what's he going to look like, we haven't seen him in a while, the leg sprain, I just had no idea what the guys around him were going to do. And tonight, I kind of feel the same way. How would you bet this one if you're looking at props?
I would take the under on Embiid's points. You might look at this and say it's at 25.5, and he was at over 33 a game during the regular season, but he's been over 25 just once in the playoffs. His usage rate is down nearly 10% compared to what it was during the playoffs. And the Celtics are a really good defensive team. They were 3rd in defensive rating, 8th in terms of points in the paint allowed per game. I just think that at the moment, Joel Embiid's scoring prop is too high, and we've seen it come down. It was early. It was a bit higher than this to start the day, but I don't mind taking the under on 25.5 since we can get it here at better than even money.
So something you said before about game 2, that it was just such an obvious bounce back spot for the Celtics. That's how I feel tonight about Jason Tatum. In game 2, Tatum, he shot terribly. He didn't even play 20 minutes. He had 7 points, which I don't know what his season low is for points. Never mind in the postseason. Like overall for this year, 7's probably right around what it was because of the foul trouble he ran into, which contributed obviously that in the blowout to his limited minutes. All of his props were down. If you went for the rebounds, the assists, whatever it was, everything finished under, obviously. Is this a smash spot for Tatum tonight?
I'm going to say no. I don't necessarily, he certainly can go off, right? I mean, Jason Tatum is a really good basketball player. I'm not sure, he wasn't an MVP finalist. I don't know if they still do like 4th place, 5th place.
Yeah, I think he finished 4th place. They do that based on
he should be. He should have finished 4th.
Yeah,
I think that's like about what he deserved for what was ultimately a really good year, but he just hasn't been that same player during the postseason from a scoring perspective. I mean, he's doing everything that you would want him to do. He's rebounding, he's assisting. He just kind of hasn't had to go into that, 5th gear as a scorer, right? Jaylen Brown has kind of been unstoppable to start the postseason. So he's picked up a lot of the slack there. I don't think that the Celtics need 30 points from Jason Tatum to win this game. So I would not say that it's a smash spot. I would say it's just a, kind of a routine spot. If anything, I would probably lean towards the under.
How about some of the role players? And we'll obviously talk about the other game as well. And Jeff will help us out with hockey in just a little bit. But if you're looking at some of the other contributing players, not the Tatums or Browns or Embiids or Harden, some of the other role players that obviously are going to be available to you tonight. I'm just looking up, and projections are available at different places, but I'm looking up some of the, positive EV plays for tonight in this game. And one guy a couple plays that stand out. Tyrese Maxey, under 2.5 assists. You can get even money on that. You could also look at DeAnthony Melton, over on his 2.5 rebounds. You can get plus 120 on that play as well. Even James Harden, I know I just said forget about him, but James Harden over on his rebounds, 5.5, minus 115. How do you feel about some of these numbers?
I'm going to go in a completely different direction. I like Al Horford over 2.5 assists.
Okay.
Al Horford is just a really good basketball player, right? He's not as good as he was in his prime, but he can do a little bit of everything. He only had 2 assists in his last game, but he only played 23.5 minutes because it was such a blowout.
Yeah.
Prior to that, he had at least 3 dimes in 6 straight. So I think the 2.5 is a very good number. You have to lay a little bit of juice on that. I think it's minus 130 towards the over.
Correct. Yeah.
But I think that should be closer to like minus 150. I think as long as this game stays reasonably competitive, Al Horford should get to 3 assists.
Anything else you'd like to add on this game before we jump to the other one?
Nah, that's it for that.
Okay. This game, I think, is in some ways, maybe I'll be wrong about this, obviously, but I think this game is in many ways more interesting. I just, I think this. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I just have a quick question about this game. Like,
sure.
How do you guys see this playing out? Because I feel like Boston's going to destroy them tonight. I know that the game 2 was kind of a write-off and is a different scenario, but like, I don't know, man. I just feel like Philly came in, caught them off guard, and maybe just woke up Boston. I'm just an outside perspective here, but I really do feel like Embiid isn't 100%. Philly kind of gave it their all. I don't really see them bouncing back. I think this line is. I'm really shocked to see this line this small. It just
I can't believe the line.
The Celtics were like, what were they before the series? Like minus.
The betting line for the series when it started, it opened, I want to say right around like 2.8, minus 280, 290, something like that. But it got it because of Embiid's injury and the rumors surrounding that. Will he play in the series? All of that. It got bet all the way up to almost minus 600.
This goes to my Matt's point too. Like if Embiid isn't Embiid, why isn't the line moving like we had when it? So to me, I don't know. I'm just again, I know that there's other things, and you don't necessarily always want to be on the public side, but you can't worry about that stuff too. I feel like there's people aren't giving the Celtics enough credit here for taking on an Embiid-less team. I don't know. That's just me. I've looked at this line for like 2 days, and I'm just like, why? There's no reason why.
The way I'm playing this thing, Jeff, is right now you can get the Celtics minus 1.5 games for plus 125. That to me feels like a great number, right? Yeah. As we can see, the Celtics are going to be favored in games in Philly, and they're going to be pretty heavy favorites in games in Boston. So we just need them to win 3 out of the next 4 games. I think that's very, very doable.
Yeah, I took Celtics minus 1.5 before the series started. So that's
right. And you prayed, I'm sure, much better or much worse than plus 125.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
No, I will happily look it up while one of you is talking. I will check and I will look it up. But to your, both of you, what you were just talking about, it just the splits, I guess I find kind of fascinating. VSiN has them on the DraftKings Sportsbook, and I'm looking at them right now. And the Celtics at minus 2.5, only 65% of the handle and 67% of the bets. And actually, the bet percentage is being bet up a little bit as we speak. It really does surprise me, because as Jeff was alluding to, I think that like the number should be Celtics like minus 5 or 6.5.
Can I give a theory?
Please.
You're not gonna like it. I think everyone is just so tired of Boston. The smugness.
That doesn't. So if that's how you feel, that's fine. But don't bet stupid.
No, for
people
sure.
bet with their hearts. Most people, and most people, I think, if you're a neutral, you're probably rooting for Philly in this series.
Maybe. What about the? I guess the more compelling number that I'm interested in, actually, before we go to the other game. So the total opened to 214. It's been bet up to 215.5. Still going up in terms of the bet percentage. 86% of the handle has the over in this game. What do you think?
I would lean towards the over. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Philly with a banged up Joel Embiid, I think they're going to score more than they did last game. And the Celtics offense, is one of the best in basketball. They can put up, 120 any given night. So I think that, this game probably ends up higher scoring than at least the last one was, where the 76ers couldn't even crack 90 points.
I just looked, and you are correct. When I got Celtics minus 1.5 before the series, it was minus 114. So I also just did. I did at the time too. I did a Celtics, a correct score prediction. I did a Celtics 4-2 in the series.
You love those.
A sprinkle just to goof around a little bit. Believe me, if they take care of it in 5, I'm not going to lose any sleep. Just don't go to a game 7 and screw me like they did against, the Hawks when they went to game 6, but I had the Celtics minus 2.5. That's what I would like to avoid this time around. I was starting to say before, this game tonight, I find more interesting the Nuggets and Suns, just because I truly have no idea which way it's going to go. And I think the public and the sharps, for that matter, feel the same way, because the handle and the bet percentage more or less is pretty much split. It's like 45-55 in whether you're looking at the spread, whether you're looking at the money line. It's, it's those are reversed in terms of Nuggets and Suns, but I don't think anyone is wholly confident in who is going to win this game, despite Denver's dominance so far, up 2-0, and no Chris Paul on the other side of LaMarca.
That's the big one for me. I was fully ready to take the Suns when they got back home. I mean, I've been talking about it basically since we knew this series. I was going to take the Nuggets when they were at home, and then look to bet the Suns on the series price once it heads back to Phoenix. And they are favored even without Chris Paul. They're 4-point favorites, but losing Chris Paul is a very big deal. We're talking small sample size here, but the Suns have increased their net rating by almost 27 points with CP3 on the floor during the postseason. With Cameron Payne on the floor, it decreases by 40. So again, small sample size, but Chris Paul is still a really good player. He's in particular, a very good defender still at the point guard position. So his defense on a guy like Jamal Murray is very important. The Suns don't have great depth. Taking CP3 out of the rotation now, it just means everybody else has to move up a spot, which means we're getting a bunch of minutes from guys like, Josh Okogie and Torrey Craig, and it's a real downgrade for Phoenix. So I still think that game 3, this is a game that the Suns are supposed to win, but without CP3, they're going to have to really play at their best. And I mean, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are still 2 of the best offensive players in the league. They could combine for 70 tonight, right? But Denver, as they've proven with Jokic and Jamal Murray, they have 2 guys that can go for 70 as well. So I think this is going to be a good game. I lean Phoenix laying the 4, but I would have felt a lot better about it if CP3 was active.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is the series. They lose, it's over. So if there's any opportunity to show, heart or spunk or spine or backbone, whatever, it's tonight. It has to be tonight, especially on your own floor in front of your fans.
Yeah, and not necessarily Kevin Durant. He has nothing to prove, but Devin Booker's got something to prove in my eyes, right? That game 7 collapse against Luka last year, like he's got to prove that he's ready for the moment. You know what I'm saying? He's got to prove that he's not going to be someone who wilts at the biggest stage. And I know Phoenix has already made it to a finals once, but that loss last year against Dallas was just so bad that I think they have some questions that they need to answer.
He has been, none of this will matter, obviously, if they lose the series, but he has been excellent.
He's been great, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, his prop is 30.5, which is a big number even for Devin Booker, I think. But what is he, 25 plus points in 6 out of his last 7, I think?
Yeah, at last game too, he had 35. He shot it nearly 50% from the field. No, he's been phenomenal. I just, nobody cares unless you win, right? Yeah. Isn't that the old saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's time for him to win.
Any props that do jump out at you before we switch gears to hockey?
What was the prop that I picked for this game? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
I'll tell you one in terms of projections that's really popular right now is Jokic over assists. 7.5 is the number.
Okay. Over 7.5 assists. Yeah, I mean, Jokic, sure. He's a nightly triple-double threat, right? Like, I'm not going to push back too hard on that. Yeah.
Although what surprises me a little bit, his under rebounds, he's 13.5 rebounds. Under rebounds is the more popular one at plus 110.
The prop that I went with today was MPJ over 4.5 boards. And this is another one that has come up since the number initially came out, but his rebounds were way down in his last game because his minutes were way down and he didn't play well. So he ended up riding the pine a little bit more than expected, but he had averaged more than 7 rebounds during the playoffs before that last game. So I think that this is a nice buy low opportunity.
All right, Moose, we've got about 10, 12 minutes left in this show and 2 hockey games, one tonight, one tomorrow. Devils and Hurricanes in this one. The only curious, obviously, what you think. You're the aficionado here, but the only thing in this game that is certainly overwhelming from a betting sense, but also is about the only thing I feel confident in is this game going over 5.5 goals. Heavy on the betting, 80% of the handle, 79% of the bets are on the over 5.5. But in terms of who's going to win and by how much, I don't have a clue. What about you?
I mean, I kind of feel that the same way. The second round has been a bit of a mystery to me thus far. Not a great start for me. I'm not going to lie, but again, like things can change so quickly in the NHL. And this is typically these rounds. This is where we see in the NHL, like teams will jump on teams. The Carolina Hurricanes jumped on the Devils, a young team coming off 7 games. It's not shocking that they had a letdown. Like it happens. You're going to see that this happen a little bit more too in the next couple rounds. Where you go back to last year. Remember the Lightning got down 2-0 to the Rangers in the conference finals. happened next? They reeled off 4 wins in a row. So you're going to see weird things like that. My inclination, I would ride with the Devils. I mean, I had the Devils. They're a deeper team, even without Timo Meier. Carolina, they just don't have much offense. I know they put up 5, but that was because Akira Schmid was terrible. Schmid will bounce back. Whoever's, even if it's Vanacek, I'd be fine with that. Like, I'm fine with whoever's starting. They haven't announced the starter yet, from what I saw. I just looked. But I think the Devils are a lockdown team. Like, and the other thing is, I wouldn't touch the total. I mean, again, like you're talking about a Carolina Hurricanes team who was an under machine during the regular season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know why everyone's steaming up the over. I guess they just think that the Devils' goaltending is going to be so bad. The Devils may only allow 15 shots on net. They're really good 5-on-5. So I'm going to roll.
I don't know the numbers on this either, Jeff, but it feels like just in general, regardless of the team or the series, it feels like the unders are hitting more often than not in these playoffs, which is not a shock just because Stanley Cup playoffs, defense tightens up.
Yeah, and that's pretty much a trend we see in the playoffs too, right? So it's been a little bit wild in terms of the scoring. Like, we do see the odd one pop off, but this isn't a series that I had pegged for a lot of goals, and I don't think anyone would. So again, like, I think if everyone's expecting game 2, it seems like, to play out like the first game where like Carolina scores 5 goals. But I mean, if New Jersey wins this game, it could easily be like 2-1 or something, and they just tighten down or 3-2. So I like playing the Devils. It doesn't seem like the greatest line, but again, everyone's kind of on the other side. I'm fine. This was my pick before, so I'm willing to give them a shot here. Like I said, the bounce back. And even if they get down 2-0, they may be a team I look to take in the series or something. But I also
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm taking them now. Plus 145. I'm taking them now.
I think it's reasonable, man. Like, I do. I mean, again, they're deep everywhere. They're obviously a young team. They came back from two down in the first series. I think eventually Carolina just gets worn down here, but they do have an edge in goal. Frederick Anderson. We'll see how that goes. Another reason not to take the over, though. I mean, Anderson and net. So just quickly on some player props. If you're looking at shots on goal, Jack Hughes is only at 3.5 today. He went over this in like he went over this multiple games against the Hurricanes this season. Kind of surprised to see that. The one I like the most, though, I don't know why this is so low. Dawson Mercer at 1.5 shots on net. This is like a top line winger. He gets power play opportunities. The Hurricanes don't allow many shots, but like, Mercer could hit this in like the first 5 minutes. I mean, he absolutely, if the Devils get a power play or something. So Dawson Mercer over 1.5 shots on net. It's still at minus 125. Again, I mean, I don't mind taking a shot there. So a couple shots on goal props that are interesting. I'm expecting a tighter, closer game. I think New Jersey's definitely going to bring it, try and limit the attempts a little bit. And if they can get a lead early, I really think that the over will have trouble hitting. So kind of the way I'm looking at this game.
So I'm inclined to agree with you that regardless of who wins, it's going to be a closer game. And if you do believe it just where I'm stammering here is the problem. Like, I would like to make, Devils plus 1.5. I think that's the logical pick. The problem is we're looking at it right now. There's no value in it at all at minus 265. So you're almost forced to take a side on the money line if you have any conviction whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what I said. Take the Devils.
Yeah.
Don't play the money line.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like the Hurricanes, you could conceivably take the money line, the puck line, instead of the money line, because and I think that's actually fine, because if you like the Hurricanes, you're kind of thinking, well, the Devils' goaltending is going to suck again, and they may put up 4 goals, and that's fine. And Henderson has a great game, and maybe it is a repeat, but again, if you think it's going to be a closer game, like I think the Devils are the side to go with. So,
all right, let's talk about your Oilers in Vegas. And yeah, I know that one was a marathon. You're talking about games popping off. That one popped off, and as a result, people are betting that way. Over 6.5 currently has 94% of the handle, 86% of the bets. What are we going to see in this next game?
Well, we don't know who's starting in net for the Oilers. It's probably going to be Skinner again. Massive concerns there for me. He's got it's like an 8.6 save percentage in the playoffs thus far. if he doesn't turn around here, you're not going to see him again. Campbell start, but I don't know if that's a possibility. And, I'd like to be the contrarian here and say, take the under 6.5. I think the other thing you could do is maybe like look to see who's starting. If Skinner starts again, maybe look to take the over on the Vegas team total. I don't know. I look at this line. I don't really want it. I'll be honest. I don't really want anything to do with the Oilers at -125 if Stuart Skinner is starting. I think he's a rookie goaltender. He's played 70 games in the NHL. He's never, like, even this year he split games with Jack Campbell. He's a good goalie. He's a Calder finalist, sure, but like we don't know what his absolute upside is. We don't really know, and I think it's kind of shining through that this is a new situation. And the Oilers have not had a big save really all season, except when Jack Campbell was in net. So if he starts there, I'd be inclined to fade the Oilers in game 2. I really would. But they haven't announced a starter yet. I guess they could conceivably go to Campbell here. I don't think they will. So I mean, I'm kind of tossed up to this one. This one's a little bit, again, I'll probably be looking more to the props on this than anything. Maybe trying to play some like overs on the Vegas forwards, because what we saw in game 1 is the Oilers defense definitely getting outshined here. Vegas still has a lot of speed, and I don't think that I don't think that the Oilers are going to be able to turn the tide in terms of they're going to be able to just stop the Vegas, like the Golden Knights, from getting shots. They're going to have to outscore them, which is they can do. But I would be inclined to maybe look to like a point prop on Jonathan Marchessault, who hasn't got going. You're getting -110 on a top 6 winger, top line winger, essentially. I really like that price. I'm surprised that you can get it. I know he's been cold in the playoffs, but you could also look to him in the shots on goal department. You could look to Eichel at +120 to go over 3.5. So I'd be looking to some of these the Vegas Golden Knight forwards, probably shot on goal. Riley Smith is another at 2.5. I mean, over that at +135, I think is reasonable. So that's kind of where I'm looking for this game. Again, nothing apparent, like nothing huge jumping out to me in the second round right now. I really want to see who Edmonton's going to start. If it's Skinner, I would probably keep playing overs and just ride with what everyone's betting there.
Lamarca, we have a question from our friends on Twitch, DFS question for NBA, and I guess I will have to either repeat myself or say it very slowly.
I'm reading it.
Okay, you got it in front of you. Perfect. So Harden, Pope, Hauser, McDaniels, Reed, Maxey, Durant, Murray. This is my NBA lineup. I know nothing on NBA. Is it okay?
No, that is not a lineup that I would play.
Why don't you, obviously we can't build a lineup, but why don't you offer, 1 or 2 of your favorite plays tonight to this person?
Yeah. So, I mean, for starters, I would not be playing Hauser or Paul Reed at a minimum. I'm building around Jokic as usual. I think Cameron Payne is a great value play tonight at 4,800. I think Derek White looks strong at 4,900. I like those guys a lot more than I like KCP in the same price range. But for sure, like guys like Hauser and McDaniels and even Maxi Kleber to an extent. And not to an extent, I don't even know if Maxi Kleber's playing at the moment. Like, it's just, there's a lot of guys in there who could give you zeros. I understand that you want to get some bigger name players in there like James Harden and Kevin Durant, but the guys that you have picked to surround them are not the way to go.
Last thing before we get out of here, assuming you've looked at it at all tonight, either of you, baseball, either of you, I hope. Starts off in at least the games that are still to be played begin in about 40 minutes. Do you have any leans tonight of any kind? I won't pigeonhole you to one game or prop or anything like that.
As much as it pains me to say, I think that the best number is the Rockies going up against the Mets. The Mets have been such a disaster recently. I'm not sure why they're -265 favorites. I get that Colorado is bad, but you know who else is bad? Detroit, who just beat him 3 times in a row, with 2 of those wins coming against Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. So Kodai Senga has been good to start his career. He has not been great A lot of the advanced metrics suggest regression for him. I certainly think the Rockies are live to win this game, and plus 225 is a very fair number.
All right, very good.
I got one.
Please.
How about the over in Houston and Seattle?
Let me scroll down. Let me pull it up.
7 runs. Christian Javier's allowed like 1 billion home runs this year. Not 1 billion, but 5.
It's a you said the over in that one?
Yeah, the over.
Well, that is a contrarian take tonight, my friend. The in terms of how people are betting anyway, 90% of the handle is on under 7.
Good.
Listen, if I've learned one thing, it's you don't fade a Jeff Ulrich gut pick. All right. He gave us 76ers money line in game 1. All right.
It's true. There you go. There's your gut Friday pick. We need to make this a thing. Just a random sport.
Gut Fridays with Jeff Ulrich.
Not for everyone else, but over 7 runs.
Either be a gut Friday.
Yeah. Kelnick's going to hit a home run. 5-3. There. I didn't give you the score.
It's either going to be a gut Friday or a gut punch Friday, depending on the results and how you bet it. All right. Well, the Sims continue here tonight on your DraftKings channels. The Browns and Eagles in virtual Philadelphia for the reigning runners-up. Make sure you check that out. Get your bets in, make your lineups, all that good stuff. And hopefully tonight goes well for everybody, most especially the Boston Celtics. For Matt LaMarca, Jeff Ulrich, Eamon Daniel, our producer and technical director, respectively, I'm Adam Kaufman. Happy betting. We'll talk to you again next week.